As the demographics of Merrillville Community Schools continue to change, along with the life events that impact school culture and climate, it is a sobering reminder that the needs of the students and families that we serve each day become more challenging to meet. As educators, we are given the task of seeking new and more effective ways of engaging and relating to our students in an effort to provide them with a quality education. As we all know, education is not only about introducing students to the curriculum, it is also about the context in which learning takes place. In other words, the relationships that we cultivate with our students will have a significant impact on what is learned inside and outside of the classroom.
My school's climate and culture includes lots of positive and negatives. There's definitely two parts to the student body I am in, and as well as the interactions between students with students and teachers with students. So definitely our climate is very, I feel, nurturing, because the interactions between our students and teachers, it's a very close connection, especially if you get that teacher that really cares for you. You feel a great bond with them, and so you have this an adult that you can go to, and it's a very nice thing. Concerning students' interactions with students, I feel we're very integrated with our social groups. You know, you may have the theater kids or the football players, but either way, you still interact with everybody. But those positive also comes with the negatives. So you can have a lot of tension between some people, and that's definitely just something that you have to work through and to maybe talk to and communicate, and maybe that's how you would fix that negative between students with students. But teachers and students, sometimes there is a problem just because maybe teachers aren't on the same level as their students, and so it creates situations where the students may feel uncomfortable in their classrooms. And so, I mean, I think that with communication as well, you can definitely work on those and create that bond.
Study circles is a tool that has been used in communities in the region and across the country, providing opportunities for authentic engagement and dialogue for addressing the challenges and needs of children and families in an ever-changing society. Study circles creates that safe space for sharing and asking some of the delicate questions that might not otherwise be brought to the forefront. Study circles allows for the exploration and sharing of life events that shape our worldview, exposing us to the information and insights from differing perspectives while encouraging the practice of self-reflection, a skill that we vigorously encourage in our students.
It is vital that you bring in world issues in real time into the classroom, because if you pay attention to all the unjust things going on, the cup of iniquity is about to reach its brim. Once that has happened, there's going to be consequences for actions. Second off, the demographic in Merrillville is changing constantly and the ethnic rate is increasing. That teachers have to take into consideration, because students might not be able to relate to that teacher because they come from a different background. Third off, teachers are obviously compassionate in what they do, and they are obviously masters of the text. So that being, they may be able to incorporate that in what they do. So that may spark some thought into students so they could be more engaged in the class.
Okay, I believe that teachers need to know about their students is that we are a completely different generation. A lot of times you can see that they're a little despaired about like how we act and the things going on in our society, but we're just a different group of people, and you can't apply how you grew up with how we are being raised right now. It's just hard to make that connection. So we feel that when you're teaching us, when you're talking to us, that we aren't the same, or we feel sometimes we're not as good. So I think that teachers just need to try to relate more with our generation. I know it's hard sometimes with our technology and everything, but I just think teachers need to go that extra mile just to understand where we're coming from. Because a lot of times teachers just see us as like these insubordinate kids that just want to do whatever, have fun, don't care about anything, no work ethic, but you don't know like what's going on behind that. How did we get to this point? What are we seeing in our world around us that's making us this way? So I just think teachers need to go that extra mile to see us for who we really are.
Study circles promotes a deeper understanding of how judgments impact thoughts, attitudes, and ultimately behavior, helping us to become more aware of how individual and systemic views and attitudes about differences can result in opportunities for some while creating barriers for others. Until these potential barriers are more thoroughly examined, how do we begin to create a more equitable landscape for our students? It starts with meaningful, authentic, and relevant dialogue about those life events, local and national, that impact our students on a daily basis, and using those events as a part of their educational experience by tying them to the curriculum in a more relatable and impactful manner.
So what I think I'd like to see from teachers to make learning more relevant to students is not just teaching them the material in the way that they normally would, but to get the kids to understand why they should know it and to give them a reason to care, because I see a lot of students these days, like, they get out of a class and then they just look at each other and go, what did we just learn? What is this? What does this even mean? What am I going to use this when I'm out of high school? And kids don't know how to take stuff away from what they learn when it's just words straight out of a textbook or straight off of a PowerPoint. They need to know what kind of things matter in life and how they can apply all the things that they learn in school. Not just stuff out of textbook, but other lessons that teachers can give the students too. Like just stuff about responsibility and being accountable and doing what you need to do to get through your day without any, unnecessary struggles.
I feel that there are many ways that teachers can make more information relevant to their students. You can integrate social media, technology, as well as current events into your lesson plans. A lot of teachers talk about cross curriculum. So instead of crossing maybe the math with whatever other class, integrate social media, integrate current events. That's what's going to interest your students the most, and that's what's going to get them to pay attention in your class, to get involved, to want to interact and raise their hand and answer your questions.
I feel that students these days aren't as concerned with what's going on outside of their classroom or outside of their home as much as they used to be. There's a lot of less political participation in students these days as compared to people ages 65 and older, and it's kind of disturbing because there's so much controversy over recently who's going to win elections and stuff, and people don't watch debates because that's not as fun as watching the football game or what new episode of Real Housewives is on, because kids haven't been taught what's so important about these things. They don't care. If I went and asked anyone at my job right now who they're voting for, they wouldn't even know who to any names. They wouldn't even know who to say because they don't care enough to learn about these things themselves. So if teachers brought that into the classroom and just things that are important to society, not even just politics, but the whole racial issues, and spelling it out for them what's really going on, maybe they'd have more insightful opinions for themselves other than just taking things they hear from everyone else and making an uneducated guess about what to talk about.
It's been said that teachers are not in the business of education for the income, but for the outcome. As educators, we are challenged to continue to add to our own toolbox, and by doing so, we increase the likelihood of being even more effective as we work tirelessly to figure out how to teach in a more relevant and substantive way. The study circle experience could be that tool that supports us in getting there.
I believe that teachers need to understand that each student in their classroom is completely different. No one child or no one student is the same. And so taking that on, you have to come to the understanding that you have to include how you teach to have extreme patience and extreme understanding with each of your students. Because with that understanding and patience, it will make them feel closer to you, and there's a better willingness to learn what you're teaching and what you're trying to give out to them. Because without this this understanding of what they're going through in their life, they're not willing to do what you want them to do. They're not willing to give their all because they have stuff going on in their life, And if you're not trying to figure that out or trying to understand that, then they won't give you anything. And I know teachers struggle with that, to have their students participate, to want to be in the class, to want to do these assignments. But the thing is that we all have stuff going on in our lives, and our experiences are all different with what we go through. And so the understanding from teachers just helps us further ourselves into a better understanding of what we're learning in the class, a better understanding of education overall.
Hello, my name is Mike Berta. The question is, what value do study circles have for educators? I'll begin to answer that question by saying that we have a huge lack of civility in our culture today, and this lack of civility is a huge problem. Let me cite some recent events that are examples of this lack of civility. The problems that exist between law enforcement and people. The lack of civility of person to person that we read in the media almost every day. The lack of civility in communities across the country. And more locally, the recent lack of civility manifested by students as well as spectators at athletic events. Our best efforts to improve civility are failing. Formal instruction in classes, through posters, through essay contests, through rallies, have not been very successful. So what do? Do we throw up our hands and say there's nothing more we can do? Or is there hope? My position is there is hope. I believe in the goodness that exists in most people. However, there is a huge lack of understanding, leading to mistrust among people, especially between diverse populations. So what is the remedy? People need to learn more about one another. They need to tell their own stories and hear the stories of other people. As people learn, they begin to understand. As they understand, they begin to trust. As they trust, they can take action to develop commitments and hold one another accountable to achieve those commitments. This is what the study circle is all about. The study circle is designed to make the invisible visible. The study circle provides the opportunity for people to learn, trust, and commit to one another. So the question of what value are study circles to educators? Who better than we educators, the foundation of our culture, to lead the process of understanding, trust, and commitment? I've participated in 5 study circles. Each time, I believe I've left a better person than when I started. And each time the study circle ended, I observed in my colleagues what Helen Keller said, that the highest result of education is tolerance. Thank you for your upcoming commitment to participate in the study circle. And thank you for your dedication to students and to public education.